In a world where coaches are crazy and referees are blind, there's always something to talk about. Dixie Football Fanatics with Chet and Bill.
Mom! Billy's hogging the microphone again.
Dude, seriously?
Finally, some people with brains.
Whatever. Yippee.
Dixie Football Fanatics is on right now, kids.
Oh, this is too good.
I like it.
You have just entered the red zone. Now, your hosts. Let's hear it for Chet Young and Bill Cole.
How about that new intro we got for the Chet and Bill show, Bill? Did you like that?
Man, I think that is fantastic, man. It almost sounds like the Dukes of Hazzard's coming on.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, we're trying to get our new image, the Dixie Football Fanatics, and that intro in and of itself, you ask me, it caught what the Dixie Football Fanatics are all about.
It definitely plays up the fanatic part of it, so I know that. But man, that's quite an intro. I love it.
I love it too, and thanks to Jay Webb for doing that for us. And it's not, it's not totally finished yet, but it's really, really close. I don't think I'm going to ask him to tweak too much of it. Your opinion? You think it's pretty close too?
I like it. I mean, it's funny, man. It's big time. So yeah, Jay's a real talented guy. He's a voice actor, and he can really put together something good for us there. And man, it's time for Dixie Football Fanatics. Are you ready to talk a little football tonight?
Let's talk a little football. I mean, we got a lot going on tonight, right? I mean, we've got, tell them what we got coming up.
Well, the main thing is we've got a special guest. We got a call-in interview with former SEC great, Tennessee wide receiver, all-time great, Joey Kent is called in. We got a nice long interview with him talking about his career and, just talking about current SEC football. How about that, Chad?
Look forward to that. And it was a good interview, and I think everybody that listens to the show is going to enjoy it. But what about this past weekend? Let's go into a little bit of this past SEC football, what was good, what was bad. You went to the Alabama Southern Miss game this past weekend, and were you awake during the second half of that game?
Chad, I made my wife stay to the final second ticked off the clock. And,
I'm proud of you.
I'm telling you, there wasn't but a few folks in our section, but Bama pulled out 52 points, scored on the last play of the game, but they did win 52-12, did not give up a touchdown, did give up 4 field goals in that game. But Chet, here's a question for you. I know you know a lot of football, but do you know the mascot for Southern Miss?
Golden Eagles?
That's correct.
Wow, you did. Bill, I think, decided he's going to test me each week on this kind of stuff.
I consider myself a trivia whiz, and I'm going to throw some of that at you and see how you measure up.
Well, let's go real quick through what happened this past weekend so we can get on to our recorded
That's right.
interview with Joey Kent.
We're going to talk to him. But yeah, no need to talk a whole lot about Alabama taking care of business, getting ready for the big Florida game. Two big games, but we had Georgia visiting South Carolina.
That was a really good football game.
Didn't get to watch any of that live, being at the stadium. But wow, what a game! Gamecocks win at home, 38-35. Georgia had their chances, didn't they?
Yeah, they had their chances.
I saw a little replay.
By the way, me and you both missed it. Both of us last week, if I'm not mistaken, picked Georgia to win that game handedly. I was really expecting handedly. Handedly. I expected the Georgia Bulldogs to win that game. So, but you never count Spurrier out.
I mean, Columbia's a tough place. Williams-Brice Stadium, the old ball coach, tough place to play. They get riled up, and Georgia's one of those teams you kind of expect they're going to come in and lose a game, unexpected game. I mean, this was a big matchup, but Georgia comes out with a loss. You're not going to see undefeated teams in the SEC this year. I really don't even think you'll see one this year.
I'm hoping not, because that would mean that Alabama would have lost at least
there's
one.
wearing crimson.
Yeah.
But
So, yeah, that game was a great game. The other game that I had tremendous interest in, obviously, was the Tennessee-Oklahoma game. I don't think you got to watch that one either, right?
No, I tried to pull in a little of that, watching it on tailgate before the game, and a little bit on the radio. Well, anyway, didn't get to see it. Understand Vols fought a good fight, come out, got some experience, but ended up losing to a number 4 team.
Different Tennessee team than you've been watching the last few years. Tennessee, like I've said before, Tennessee's a lot faster on defense. It showed against Oklahoma. They played. The score was really not indicative of how the game was played. Oklahoma won it 34-10. Tennessee had their shots in the second half to make it a game. They threw an interception in the end zone that went through Jason Kroom's hands and into the Oklahoma DB's hands that thwarted a Tennessee drive. Good play by the Oklahoma guys, well, for sure. And then, of course, Tennessee had the ball at 3rd and goal at the 2, and threw an interception in the end zone that was returned for 100 yards for a touchdown. And that would have cut that game to 27-17 at the time, Bill, with a lot of time left in the game. But that said, like I said, I'm proud of the Vols. They're making progress, and who knows? Maybe they go to Athens a week from this Saturday and can pull off a major upset. Doubtful, but maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Respectable showing, taking such a young team in a hostile environment, Norman, Oklahoma, and getting that under your belt. It's a step in the right direction for Tennessee. So a lot of good games coming up on their schedule. But another game I got to listen to a lot on the radio was Florida beating Kentucky in 3 overtimes. So, Kentucky's showing us something this year. Florida's still kind of a question mark.
Either Kentucky's a whole lot better than Kentucky's been, or Florida's still not back. We're pretty sure Florida's not back to where Florida was. And by the way, I think, that game might officially put Muschamp on the ropes again. I mean, if he goes down to Tuscaloosa this week and beats Alabama, he's coming off the ropes a little.
Yeah, Florida's still a question mark. Having that game rained out, that it only played 2 games, but yeah, the big game in Tuscaloosa, everybody's gonna maybe get some questions answered this week. But Arkansas gets a big win against a Big 12 team, Texas Tech. Just a huge rushing performance in that game, 49-28. Arkansas wins.
That's good. That was a good win for the conference, for Arkansas and for the conference.
Yeah.
So Dixie football at its best, baby.
Yeah, Ole Miss big over Lafayette, Louisiana Lafayette, 56-15, getting a lot of love all the way up to number 10 in the Associated Press.
And I think it's 12 in the other poll, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, LSU shut out Louisiana Monroe.
Back-to-back shutouts for LSU.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard to do in today's, and I don't care who you're playing, that's still hard to do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's impressive. We know their defense is good. Their offense, question mark, but, they got it rolling along. So Texas A&M keeps on winning 38-10 over Rice, which is not going to impress a whole lot of people, but hey, a win's a win. They only gave up 10 points.
Yeah, but again, it's Texas A&M, and then they had played they'd played the big game against South Carolina, and so hey, until somebody beats them, that's obviously always until somebody beats them, they're looking strong, right? I mean, and once you take South Carolina down. That South Carolina win looks even better now that South Carolina beat Georgia, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, A&M in that strong West Conference, West Division. So it's going to be tough. I don't know who's going to come out on top, but if I must say so, I hope it's the Tide. But yeah, another great week. Last week in the books, and looking forward to this weekend. Starting tomorrow with Auburn and Kansas State. Don't know a whole lot about K-State, but it's a huge game out there, and they're going to be fired up in their 55,000-seat stadium. But that's a lot of folks for out there.
Yeah, and I'm sure Kansas State's been looking forward to this, and they're a well-coached football team and a lot of talent. So it may be a good game. But, you know, I've got a feeling that Auburn's going to – I'm afraid Auburn might beat them by double digits, maybe 10 to 14 points, Bill. But you know what? I've been wrong before. Like I was wrong last week when I picked Georgia to take South Carolina down big time. So,
well, that's the only game I missed. But anyway.
Well, that was probably the only one that was really in question.
I know. Well, why don't we get to that interview we did with Joey Kent earlier tonight and hear what he has to say about his career and talking a little bit about SEC football in 2014.
Sounds good. Let's get to it.
All right, welcome back to Dixie Football Fanatics, and tonight we got a special guest. We have former Tennessee Vol receiver Joey Kent, and he's been gracious enough to call tonight, and we're lucky to have him. How's it going tonight, Joey?
Oh, it's going great. Just finished up with the kids, just put them to bed. So this is when my night actually starts, after the kids go to bed.
Well, that's great and understandable, too. Are you located here in Huntsville now? Or?
I actually live in Nashville. I lived in Nashville since 1997. So it's almost like a second home to me. And it's, you know, obviously it's close to Huntsville, and there are a lot of family. I have family and friends obviously still in Huntsville, so it's an easy drive. I make it a lot down to Huntsville to see my mom and to see friends. You know, it's just about an hour, 15, 20-minute drive for me. So it's very convenient, and we love Nashville. You know, we try to get down to Huntsville as much as possible, but Nashville is kind of home for me now.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. You know, you're still close enough, and a lot going on in Nashville. I know that's where you had a few years there with the Titans. So, yeah, so, well, we're, like I said in my introductory call to you, we're both, Chet and I, we played a little ball at Johnson.
He played. I rode the pine.
Late 70s there, and we... you know, we always keep up with former alumni that's, you know, playing college ball currently and in the past. And, you know, we've had 5 or 6 NFL guys, you know, and you're one of them. So it's really kind of a treat for us to talk to you. And we thought we'd cover some of your history and maybe let you talk about, you know, different aspects of your career and then get in on, you know, some of your takes on today's college football.
Yeah, I'm anxious to hear what you got to say about Butch Jones. We can get a chance, and if you've met him and where you think the Vols will be, you know, the rest of this year and in the next, you know, next couple of years coming up.
Awesome.
Yeah, so you came out of Johnson, good career at Johnson, and who was your coach back then?
Nathaniel Jackson. He was there for a couple of years when I was there. You know, we had some down years when I was at Johnson. I graduated in 1992, so we didn't win a lot of games when I was there. You know, we had a lot of talent, you know, in the school, but not a lot of that talent made it out to the football field. So Johnson, as you know, always had talent, always had athletes, and you know, when I was growing up, you know, when I was in middle school and elementary school, you know, Johnson was a big deal. I mean, you know, as a kid, you always wanted to, you know, play for Johnson because of the tradition of, you know, just the football tradition, the basketball tradition, and that's what I grew up thinking about. And back in the late '80s, mid '80s, early '80s, you had some powerhouse teams coming out of Johnston, and always had talent. It just didn't really come together for me when I was in high school, and luckily I kind of caught the eye of Coach Davis. Coach Davis, defense coordinator at LSU now, obviously was at Tennessee during my time, and he was the main recruiter for me, and I think he was down scouting somebody else, and I guess I caught his eye, and he started recruiting me, and the rest is history. Tennessee was really the first big-time school that actually recruited me out of high school. People probably think it was Alabama or Auburn since I was in the state of Alabama, but it was actually Tennessee. Then after Tennessee started recruiting me, that's when Alabama and Auburn did. And during that time, Gene Stallings, he was at Alabama. Bowden was at Auburn, and Alabama wanted me to play safety because I played, in high school you typically play both ways. So I played safety and receiver in high school. Alabama wanted me as a safety, defensive back, and Auburn at that time I think they were about to go on probation. So when Tennessee came and they said they wanted me to play receiver, it was a easy choice. I never really gave any consideration to either Alabama or Auburn. And just ended up at Tennessee, and that was probably the best decision I ever made in my life.
So you were there, 90, you said early, you got there before Peyton then, obviously, right?
Yes, I got there in 92. Peyton got there in 94, and I was redshirted. So I played a year, obviously, before he got there, and his first playing time was in 1994 against UCLA.
I remember that.
That was our very first game, and Jerry Colquitt got hurt in the first quarter, and then Todd Helton. A lot of people forget this. Todd Helton and I came in together in 1992. Obviously Todd was the quarterback and went on to play, have a Hall of Fame career, baseball career, but we came in together in 1992. So he was Jerry Colquitt's backup. And then Peyton Manning and Brandon Stewart came in, were recruiting the same year. So I think that game, all four quarterbacks played that particular game. And as we know, Peyton obviously won the starting job, and obviously had a great career at Tennessee.
Right. What about, was Heath Schuler the guy there your redshirt year? Was he there part of your?
Yep. Heath was the starter my redshirt freshman year, and I was the backup. I was the backup behind Corey Fleming, who went on to play for Dallas for a few years. But my redshirt freshman year, I didn't play a lot. I played some. Ended up catching 10 passes that year, but 5 of them were for touchdowns, which is kind of a crazy deal.
That's kind of 50% of the passes you used to throw me, I'm going 6 for,
right,
baby.
I can't brag on it too much, because a lot of those catches and those touchdowns were up by 30 or 40 points. But I mean,
those were the days, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of take those days for granted. You look at the program now, and back when I was playing, if you won 9 games, it was a bad year. I remember a year we only won 9, and people were pulling their hair out. I mean, it's just that's just the difference of the program, then versus now. But yeah, it was just a lot of talent. We had a lot of talent on the team back then, and you see those talented teams like Alabama, Georgia has a lot of talent. And you saw against Oklahoma last week, where they have talent. I mean, we have talent. Tennessee has talent, but we just don't have the depth. We don't have the same amount of talent that other schools have, and it's because of three different head coaches and attrition and different systems, and A lot of factors have played into what Tennessee is right now. But I know you mentioned Butch Jones earlier. He's doing it the right way. He's doing it by recruiting, and he's doing it by recruiting the right guys that fit his system. He's getting these 5-star guys, he's getting these 4-star guys, but he's also fitting in, some 3-star guys that are playing well now. I've been impressed with him. I've been around him, 4 or 5 times and talked to him, and I've been really impressed by him and his staff. He has a tremendous staff, and the biggest thing from last year to this year is, the entire staff stayed. He had that continuity. He had that confidence from the players that, hey, these guys have our back, and it's another year in the system. And I was impressed. Nobody wants to say, use the term moral victory, because that's not what Tennessee is all about, and it never will. But I was still happy that the guys came out and competed last week, because that team, the team that was out on the field on last Saturday, last year when we went out to Oregon, we didn't even belong on the field with those guys last year. But this past Saturday, you saw that those guys belonged. But we just didn't have enough talent. We didn't have the depth like Oklahoma does to compete for 4 quarters. So the program is looking up. I'm really excited about where the program is headed, and it's primarily because of Coach Jones.
Now, you mentioned the coaches. One of the coaches that I'm really excited about at Tennessee, and he would have been your position coach had you been there. He'd been there when you was there. That Zach Ozani. The guy, it just impresses me. What's your take on Zach?
You know what? I took a visit up there this past summer. I spent a day or so up there, and really got a chance to talk to him. We had talked a few times before and sat down a couple of times before, but was up there this summer and sat down with him for an hour. And we just talked football. We just talked ball and philosophy. He's very knowledgeable. He reminds me of, I had a position coach. His name is Kippy Brown. He's the receivers coach for Seattle right now. But he's the best coach I ever had on any level, because he demanded you go out there and compete, and he got the best out of you. And that's what I see out of Coach Ozani. He's a younger guy, very energetic, very smart though. He knows the position. He knows how to coach it, and he does it his way. And not every day the guys. Every day the guys aren't happy with him, because he really pushes them. But I think that's what kids need these days. You need that push sometimes. Sometimes kids like myself, when I first got to Tennessee, I didn't know how much potential I had until I was pushed. I really didn't know if I belonged on that level at a school named for like wide receiver U. I didn't know if I belonged in that on that level at one point when I first got up there, because I was surrounded by All-Americans and 5-star. Well, at the time they didn't have 5 stars, but highly recruited guys, and I wasn't one of those highly recruited guys at the time.
Well, you played like one.
He really pushed me, and that's what I see in Coach Ozani. He's one of those guys that'll push him. You can see from last year to this year, those guys have gotten better.
Yeah, I can see how important, getting that position coach that gives you that confidence as a teaching coach, and like you described, he coached you up and gave you that confidence with your ability and your skill, and you were able to go out and do that. So
you mentioned Kippy Brown. Tennessee at one time, I think Kippy would have liked to have the head coaching job during one of these coaching changes, and that might not have been a bad pick. I don't know. How do you think he'd have done as a head coach at Tennessee?
He had a shot. From what I understand, he had an interview, and that was during Mike Hamilton's run at AD. I don't know how serious that got to. I know he had an interview. They wouldn't have been a bad choice at all, because the guy, again, he knows how to coach and he knows how to recruit. But he didn't get chosen, and they chose Dooley. It might have been Kiffin when he was. It was Kiffin. Chose Kiffin, and obviously they chose Dooley. Dooley came in after that, and with those two head coaches during those times, there's basically a contrast in coaches. You had Kiffin came in, and he was a really good recruiter and brought in a bunch of talent, and obviously he left that next year for USC, and then Dooley came in and didn't recruit as well. And again, the program is paying for the last 4 or 5 years of the way the program has been led. And so again, I think we're on stable ground right now. Coach Jones, one thing about Coach Jones, he respects tradition, and he understands what it means to be a coach at Tennessee. It takes a lot. It takes a lot. There's a lot of demands on your time. You have to recruit nationally, regionally, nationally. It's some really good talent in Tennessee, especially in Middle Tennessee. And every now and then you get some guys from Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia. But you have to recruit Texas, Virginia, California. You have to do that at Tennessee. You guys down in Alabama, there's so much talent down there that a lot of those guys on the Alabama roster are from Alabama, Mississippi. You don't see too many guys from California or Virginia or New Jersey on Alabama's roster, just simply because there's just so much talent in the state and surrounding. So, and when Alabama is rolling, they're just a juggernaut as far as recruiting. So, Coach Jones, he understands the job. He understands how to build a program. He's done it on every level that he's coached and every program that he's coached. So, I'm confident that he can get the program where we're competing. It's not going to be this year either. Hopefully, I'm hoping that we can upset a team or two and make it to seven wins. And you hate to say it for a program like Tennessee, but I would be jumping up and down if we got to seven, for this year. And it kind of point, everybody, including myself, is kind of pointing toward next year where, you have another, top 5, top 10 recruiting class coming in, and you're just building on talent instead of just, kind of replacing talent. You're going to have some depth. You're going to have some real, some talented players that's going to compete with the talent that's already there. And that's how you build a program, through recruiting. Through talent. You can't, last year, Tennessee, we had talent, but just not enough of it, not nearly enough of it. And you can see where, this year, you see more talent coming in, and you see more depth, and you got to have that playing in this league.
A lot more speed's what I've seen on the field too.
Yeah, absolutely, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And again, I think playing in the system the second year, you're more confident in it. You know what you're doing. It's kind of hard to play fast when you don't know what you're doing. And I think those kids are. They've been coached well, coached up. They feel more confident in the system. You just have better athletes back there too, faster athletes. So you can tell. That's the one thing that kind of jumps off the screen for me is on the defensive side of the ball. They're actually playing pretty well. They gave us a few big plays in an Oklahoma game. But you're going to get some plays up, especially when you're young back there. You're going but it's not like Oklahoma just outclassed them, and that's what I was really proud of. You saw the defense play well and flying around and never gave up.
Yeah, as an Alabama fan, and a lot of the talk you hear, around town, around on talk radios, is everybody thinks, well, Tennessee they're really doing it the right way with Butch Jones. His recruiting has just been top notch. Just the whole aura, the atmosphere, and just doing things right. And like you were saying, Tennessee's defense. I would hear Chet. Every Sunday at church after the game. He said, "Man, our defense are just, who."
Last year it was just so slow, and I said this year it's just so much faster.
Chet just whispered to me that that apparently Tennessee held Oklahoma to no third down conversions in that game.
In second half, the entire second half. Yeah.
Yeah. yeah, it's something that they're doing well at. I mean, they're getting off the field on third downs. That's what I know. The first two games, they're getting off the field on. I mean, obviously that's important on any level, but especially for a team like Tennessee. But then you have to do the other. You have to do the other things. You have to, you have to have, good special teams. We don't have a lot of margin of error.
No.
So you have to, you have to have a punt that's going to flip the field sometime, or back a team up. I mean, you have to do those little things for us to win, and all that stuff has to come together for the most part. And we've said over the last 4 or 5 years, at least I've said over the last 4 or 5 years, a lot of times the bounces haven't gone our way. Just had a lot of bad luck. But in my opinion, if you have talent, the more talent you have, the more bounces you'll get. I mean, it just kind of works out like that. The bad teams don't get the bounces. And
that's so true.
I mean, you have better players, you're going to get more bounces. It just kind of works out like that. And hopefully we can get a couple bounces this year. It's been Tennessee has lost so many different ways over the last 4 or 5 years that it's I mean, it almost makes you cry. Like, how many different ways can you lose?
Yeah.
Because you just lose so many different ways, and it's just amazing sometimes. And again, when you don't have the talent, you lose those games. But when you have it, you have the confidence that no matter what, we might be down by 14 or 17. Like when I was playing, if we weren't down by that much by many times in many games, but every game we went in, we felt like we were going to win that game. Or if we got down by 14 or 10 or 17, we knew we were going to come back and win that game. Or we felt like we could do it, or we knew we could do it. I think that's what Butch is building now. Nobody on that team outside of high school, and once you get to that level, collegiate level, high school doesn't matter. Nobody on that team has won anything, right?
That's right.
Nobody on that team has won anything. I mean, only thing they can really hang their hat on that team, some of the members of that team, is beating South Carolina last year, which is a great feeling. That was a confidence booster, but we just haven't won anything.
I think
until you win, and you win consistently, it's kind of hard to build that confidence. And the only way you can do it is win. That's the only way you can do it.
The last 4 years are the worst 4 years in last 100 years of Tennessee football. And I think this was the first class that hadn't. So you had 4 years in a row of losing seasons, or I think that's right, 3, 5, and let's see. Yeah. Anyway, nobody never made it to a bowl. I mean, and no winning seasons. I mean, it's how bad is that?
I never would. If you'd have told me that, 10 years ago, that for 4 years, 5 years in a row, Tennessee wouldn't even make it to a bowl game, I wouldn't believe you. I just wouldn't have believed you, because I always felt like Tennessee is one of those top tier programs where everybody, all programs, so you can name all from USC to Alabama to Georgia. I mean, all programs go through their downtimes. Auburn. I mean, every last, most programs have gone through their downtime. It's just, memory kind of fades. When you start winning, memory kind of fades all those times. But everybody's going through their downtimes. It just so happens Tennessee is going through them now. And it's just, you have to. I mean, sometimes you just have to go through it. And a lot of times it's, it's coaching changes, just the wrong hire. Alabama went through that. They went through a couple situations where it just, after Stallings, that the program wasn't where it should be. It took Saban to come back in and restore that tradition and that winning attitude, and you see where they are now. Now, I'm not calling Butch Jones Nick Saban or anything, but it takes the right guy to sometimes get that program back on track.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, being a kid in the 70s, I don't know. I'm sure you know the record book. Alabama only lost maybe an average of 1.5 games a year. I mean, it was just an incredible decade. and national championships, 77, 78, 73, and then we did win in 92 under Stallings, and then you've got the great drought until the Saban era, 92 to 2009, which,
a lot of people,
like you said,
a lot of people want to forget that, but you can say the same thing about Auburn, Georgia. You can say a lot of. You can look at point at every SEC team and everybody's going through it.
Yeah,
but the thing about, again, Tennessee is just going through it now, and it's the most visible time. Back then, no social media. The media was different. Now we're going through it at the most visible time, and that's just where the program is.
Yeah, you get the sense. I know, as a fan, when you're supporting your program, the coach, that you've got in there, you're going to support him, as Chet did, with Dooley and Kiffin, and you buy into it, and then it doesn't work out sometimes, and
you're disheartened, so to speak.
So, but it's just something about the aura of, Butch Jones just seems to be, no nonsense, getting things done right. Hate to throw the process word in there.
It's brick by brick with Butch.
Okay, but I just as a rival fan, I'm observing that. Man, those guys, they're doing something. They're doing the right way. The recruiting. But, man, when you look at these SEC schedules, Joey, just you look at everybody's schedule and you look down at your conference opponents and just so many strong teams, man. It's just the margin of success, between, failure and success is just so tight. They're so competitive league right now. It's just amazing.
Yeah. It's really different from when I was playing. I played in the early to mid '90s, where you had your top teams and you had your lower teams. And you still have that a little bit here in the SEC, but you have I think the difference is from today versus back then is the caliber of coaches in the league. Some really strong coaches in this league, man, and coaches that know what they're doing. That's successful in other programs that are coming to the SEC and really just instill their philosophy and their system to their different schools. The coaching is just strong, and you see it week in and week out. That's why I love college football, because there's so much parity. You just never know what's going to happen on any given Saturday, especially in the SEC. You get a win on a Saturday against an SEC team, no matter who it is, you're happy. You just never know. You just never know. And then you're dealing with 17, 18, 19-year-old kids where you just you don't know sometimes where their focus is. You might have a situation where last week with Georgia and South Carolina, on paper and before the game, I just thought that, watching South Carolina play against Texas A&M, then watching Georgia play the week prior, I just thought that Georgia would just run South Carolina out of their own stadium like Texas A&M did.
Yeah, just especially if you saw the East Carolina South Carolina game.
Right. You would think that Georgia just come in and just handle them soundly, but you saw it happen, and it's just the nature of the SEC, especially when you get into a situation where South Carolina's back at home and they're probably a little bit embarrassed at what happened to them against Texas A&M, and you saw it happen at the end of the game. So it's like you said, it's very difficult to get a win in this league, and I think it's simply because you have athletes that typically when I was playing, you're better athletes would go to like the Tennessees, Alabamas, the Georgias. Now you have really good players going to Mississippi State, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Missouri. Texas A&M, you see what Texas A&M has done over the last couple of years. So I think the parity of the players and more good players are spreading themselves across the SEC league in general.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely seeing that, like you mentioned, the good coaches all across the league, up and down, and the great recruiting. Just seems like the SEC. Well, we had the string of BCS championships. Just the national reputation is so strong right now. But there's a team there in your hometown that's not pulling their weight, and that'd be the Vanderbilt Commodores. Derek Mason's made some puzzling, so to speak, moves. A lot of this quarterback deal. What's your impression of him, and what do you think? Do you think that after the Franklin era that maybe they're just going to have a lot of rebuilding to get back? Maybe the Franklin era is as high as Vandy's going to get. What do you think on that?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think part of it is that they're playing a lot of young guys too. Coach Franklin inherited some really good football players when he first got to Tennessee, and he did a great job of coaching those guys up. But a lot of those players that played under him aren't there anymore, and he inherited a young team. When I went to an event and listened to Coach Mason this summer, and I came away really impressed with him. But I just don't know if he knew what he was getting himself into with a program like Vanderbilt and his players being so young and him being the first-year head coach. And I think a lot of it is him learning on the fly, understanding what he has, what type of team he has. I mean, he's a young coach. His first time head coach. And, if you get him behind closed doors, I'm pretty sure he'll admit he made some mistakes. I think the first mistake he made was at the SEC meetings, talking so highly about where the program is and where it's going and all that good stuff. And you would say you made a couple mistakes on the quarterback position, but I think it came out that Robinette was hurt, I think, the second game and whatnot. So, but yeah, I think if you ask him, he will tell you he made some mistakes, and I think that's just him being a young coach and first-time head coach. And I think he'll learn from it. Again, he has to recruit. I mean, he has to get those players and get that program, keep that program where it was 2 years ago or last year. But it all starts with players, and he has to coach those players up when he get them.
As a Tennessee fan, I just assume he not beat us anymore. I mean, Vandy not beat us anymore, though.
Yeah, I would be happy about that too. I wasn't, living in Nashville and the success that they had under Franklin. It wasn't fun. It wasn't fun to see. And it wasn't fun to experience because it just wasn't normal for a Tennessee former player or a Tennessee fan to see that happen over the last couple of years. But again, Tennessee has lost over the last 4 or 5 years so many different ways. So I wouldn't say I got numb to the fact, but it was just a part of, like you said, the process of what the program is and where it's going. And hopefully that won't last. Hopefully that won't continue.
I think good days are ahead with Butch at the helm. And hey, you do you have you got a Saturday show now, right?
I do. This is actually the 5th year that we have it. It's called the Tennessee Tailgate Show, and it typically comes on about 2.5 hours before every game. And if it's 11 o'clock game, we have the post-game show instead of pre-game. So it's fun. My host is Jonathan Hutton, who co-hosts a midday show here in Nashville on 104.5. We dig into the this week's matchup or the week's matchup, and typically have a former player on to talk about their playing time and talk about the game a little bit and kind of have fun with it. It's a lot of information on that show that kind of gets you ready for that game. And it's fun for me because the radio is not my day-to-day job. My day-to-day job, I'm a pharmaceutical sales rep, so that's what I do day-to-day, and doing the radio kind of helps me kind of stay in the game and stay informed, and it's fun to do.
So what station's that on again? Did you say 104.5?
It's 104.5, and the show is called Tennessee Tailgate Show. And again, it comes on typically 2.5 hours before kickoff. If you have an 11 o'clock game, that's the time. That's when it's on. That's when we're on post game. We have a post game show.
Do y'all set up around the stadium, or you in the studio?
This is our 5th year. So the last 3 years, we were sponsored by different restaurants and bars around Nashville. We stay in Nashville, basically.
Oh, okay.
And so for the last 3 years, we would go to different, our different sponsors, restaurants or bars, and do the shows from there. This year, we're doing it from the studio. So I had an opportunity to go for the first game and did the show by phone, but typically we're in the studio to do the show.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Way to stay, like I said, stay in the game and add your perspective.
I'm trying to be pros like you guys.
You know your football. That's obvious, and if you love football and you love talking it, right? I mean, this kind of stuff can come natural and easy, can't it?
Yeah, it is fun, man. When I was supposed to do it 5 years ago, I had no thoughts of doing it, and didn't have any experience doing it either, and kind of grown into the role, and it's fun. It takes work though. As you guys know, you have to do your homework, and since it's a live show, so, and it's a call-in show too, so and you have to be on your toes, because you might get a question where you have to obviously have to know the answer to, because it's a live show, so you have to do your homework. And I do a lot of my studying throughout the week. I listen to a lot of sports. We have a lot of sports radio talk shows up here in Nashville, so I listen to a lot of radio and see what's going on during the week, and I do a lot of reading too to kind of get me prepared for that. It's an hour show, so it's pretty. It's a good amount of content that's kind of thrown around during the hour show. So again, it's fun though. It kind of keeps me into the game, and I really enjoy it because I love Tennessee, and I love talking Tennessee.
Well, Chet and Bill, we started a little podcast last year, and we're just getting more and more into it, more and more. It's more and more fun to us, and
we were the Chet and Bill show. Now we're the Dixie Football Fanatics.
Yeah, we're trying to expand our little coverage there. But yeah, how about Tennessee Titans? You still check out some of their games, and from time to time, I'm sure.
Yeah, I do. I try to make it to a couple games every season, and I have Justin Hunter that's on the team that I know, and I root for. That's my kid's favorite player, so it's good to have a volunteer on the Titans, and I'll pull for them every Sunday. I hope that they win, and they kind of got off to a good start against the Chiefs, and kind of stubbed their toe against Dallas last week, but I think this team is a better team, better coach than last year. So I think they'll bounce back against Cincinnati this week. They go up to Cincinnati on Sunday to play. So we'll see what the Titans are made of this week when they have to go on the road after a tough loss against Dallas.
Well, give us your take on a couple of games this week, and big SEC games. One Bill's going to be tuned into pretty hot and heavy. Is going to be the Alabama-Florida game this week.
Yeah, that's the one I'm gonna keep my eye on too. And you're looking at not Kentucky, but Florida last week against Kentucky. Either Kentucky is a lot better than a lot of people think, or Florida's not as good as people think. And we'll definitely see on Saturday which Florida team it is, because Alabama, they haven't looked like great over the last couple of weeks. It's still Alabama, and they're playing at home. And anytime the Gators roll in the town, it's a big game. I mean, it's a big deal when the Gators roll into town. So I'm excited to see what happens and see how Driscoll kind of bounces back. He's been the biggest question mark of that team. I think that team goes as far as Driscoll takes them. If Driscoll doesn't do a good job, they're not gonna win a lot of games. But if he starts to play well, and I anticipate him playing better against Alabama simply because it's the magnitude of this game. So it'll be interesting to watch this weekend to see how Florida goes into Tuscaloosa to play the Tide.
Yeah, I think Florida is definitely one of those teams with more question marks. Their first game being rained out, and then they had the blowout against Eastern Michigan, and their body of work just a couple of games. So coming into Tuscaloosa, like you said, that's a rarity, with the way the divisions are these days, and so looking forward to that. I heard something interesting today. I didn't really delve into it, but something about how Saban's record against his former assistants is I think he's 7-0 at Alabama, and he's beaten them by 30 points. So
I think Dooley kind of helped that average. I would assume.
Yeah, 3 years in a row at 31, right?
Yeah. So Alabama's got through the preseason, I guess you could say. I mean, we had the West Virginia, who is getting a lot of respect. I think they're going to be a decent team, but I went to the Southern Miss game, and it was just taking care of business, running the ball, and still trying out the quarterbacks, and but they're putting up the numbers offensively. But a lot of questions I think is going to be answered in Tuscaloosa. Chad, who else we got? We got LSU, Mississippi State. That's going to be a good one.
That's going to be a good one. We also got tomorrow night. You got Kansas State and Auburn, right?
Oh yeah, we're not going to forget that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Since Tennessee is off this week, I kind of take the week off with them. I don't I don't listen to as much sports talk, and I don't kind of dive into the matchups this week just because it's a week off for me too, to kind of get my bearings down and kind of enjoy the weekend and just watch football instead of thinking about what I have to do for the show. I can just kind of relax and start tomorrow with the Auburn Kansas State game. That's going to be a better game than people think.
I like that. I'm not an Auburn fan, so I should be an SEC fan, but, man, I have a hard time pulling for Auburn or Alabama, either one of them. And I'm a Tennessee fan, and if it can hurt Tennessee any way, any form, any fashion, I'm pulling for the other guy.
I'm the same way. I don't. I mean, obviously I have conference pride, I guess, but I'm Tennessee all the way. I can,
Yeah,
I'm not.
Got to be like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that might sound, I don't know if that sounds petty or not, but I care for Tennessee, and I'm a Tennessee grad and proud of it. So I enjoy watching these games and seeing these young guys compete. I mean, it's just fun. It's just fun to see these guys compete every Saturday, every weekend.
Well, you obviously know what they went through, but so what was your take? Did you saying Alabama's going to beat Florida, or are you saying Florida's going to upset the Tide, Auburn or Kansas State, LSU or Mississippi State? What you pick?
Well,
Let's put you on the spot now.
You know what?
He said he didn't do all his research.
Well, no. I mean, I'll give you my opinion. I really don't I really don't feel like Florida is going to go in Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama. I don't know a lot about Kansas State. Only thing I know about them from what I saw last year, and I don't know what they lost and what they have coming back. But they do have talent there. It's not like it's not like a directional school that's coming in and playing Auburn. They have talent and big time talent at Kansas State. I know they have a receiver, last name Lockett, who his dad actually played at Kansas State and was around when I was around, and he's a big time playmaker for him. I still don't think they can come in and beat Auburn. I think the biggest game that has potential for upset is Mississippi State LSU, because LSU they're not the same LSU as years past. And Mississippi State, they slowly but surely have a bunch of talent on their team, and they're playing well, and their quarterback is playing well. So anytime your quarterback is playing well, you have a shot in this league.
Oh yeah, LSU's another team that's had the good win, good fourth quarter against Wisconsin to come back and win, and then a couple of wins over Sam Houston and La Monroe. But yeah, you're going to get some more questions answered about LSU and Mississippi State and Ole Miss. Everybody's, every so often they get built up to have a good team. Whether this year they can, get over the hump and beat Alabama, I doubt it. But they're putting up some points.
It's just, again, this league is, you don't have to have a great quarterback to win this league, but you have to have a consistent quarterback. And they have a lot of talent on their team, but Will Wallace is so inconsistent that I just can't trust him. I can't trust them week to week. So, they're ranked where they are, which is surprisingly high, in my opinion. But
well, they 12.
We'll see where they are at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think they're closing in on the top 10, aren't they? Like number 12 or something.
I think so. Yeah, they're close to it. But again, their season's going to rest on Bo Wallace, and Bo Wallace can be a heck of a player. He's a good player, but he's an inconsistent player too.
Hopefully, we'll get Barnett and Corey Vereen after him. That's
when he goes bad, he really goes bad.
It's bad. Yeah. So and they don't have enough talent to overcome when he's really bad. That's the only problem. So he has to be good every week, and I just don't know if they can be good. He can be good every single week.
Yeah, we're with you on him. We got together over here at Chet's house and watched the Boise, Mississippi State, or the Ole Miss game, and the South Carolina A&M game. So Texas A&M, another team that they're really lighting up the scoreboard. Their defense is a little bit better, but looks like they've got a good team. Very good coach, Sumlin over there. Like you said, everywhere you turn in this conference, you've got quality coaching week to week. Well, I guess we're looking at maybe wrapping up here tonight, and we sure appreciate talking to you, and hopefully maybe we can talk to you again. And
I'd love to have you on. It was fun listening to you go over your playing days, go over what Butch is bringing to Tennessee, going over what these other schools have and have not, and it's just fun talking football.
I'm glad you guys let me ramble on here tonight.
It's good. It's really good. I totally enjoyed it.
Like you say, that's what we enjoy doing. Apparently, you're like us. You enjoy college football, and you
could talk it all night.
To talk about it.
I really enjoyed it, guys. We can do this sometime later on this season. We'll have a lot more to talk about.
Let's do it the week of the Alabama game. How about that? Or you want to wait
to make that happen.
Or the week after? Which one? We might have more to say the week before.
We'll talk about it.
All right.
All right.
All right, Joey. Hey, thanks for calling in.
All right, you guys take care down in Huntsville. All right.
Appreciate it.
We will, and we'll talk to you next time, and appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Again, we'd like to thank Joey Kent for calling in. That was, we just enjoyed so much talking to Joey. Bill, I appreciate you rounding Joey up for us to be able to talk to him on the Dixie Football Fanatics.
I know. I mean, it was a great talk. He really guy knows his stuff. I mean, he's on his own. He's got a tailgate show for Tennessee Network, or on a Nashville station, and he's really good analyst. So it was a real treat to get him. I looked him up on Twitter and was able to contact him, and being a fellow Johnson Jaguar, and it was great to have him on.
Yeah, it's nice of him to take that time this evening to do that with us. So, yeah, we certainly appreciate it, Joey, and look forward to doing it again.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, like he agreed to come back on, maybe we can wrangle him in and talk a little more Tennessee and SEC football. Well, before we get out of here tonight, I think we want to talk a little bit about what's coming up this weekend. I know we talked in the interview about a lot of the games, so big Alabama-Florida game coming up, so it's going to be a big one.
In Tuscaloosa, right?
Yeah, going to be a rare event, having the Gators come to town, but Alabama's got to turn it up against the Gators. The level of competition's gone way up. So
we think.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big Gator question mark is how good are they coming off that Kentucky win.
Yeah, don't put Tennessee in there yet. They ain't played us yet.
Yeah. So I think a lot's been said about that. Blake Sims is kind of entrenched at quarterback. Still rotating Jake Coker in there maybe a little bit. Let him air it out a little bit. But we'll have to see how they do. Big matchup with Amari Cooper against I think his name's Hargraves, touted as one of the top, maybe the top defensive back in the country.
Cam Sutton at Tennessee. But anyway, that's another story.
It's going to be a good matchup. But anything else we need to talk about before we get out of here?
The other big game, real quick again, is LSU Mississippi State. Zach Prescott taking the Dak. I can't get that right. Dak. I'm sorry to all you Bulldog fans listening to us on the Dixie Football Fanatics. That's Dak Prescott, a Heisman Trophy dark horse, and for the quarterback for the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Got that right.
They are the Bulldogs.
They are the Bulldogs, and they're a good football team.
Yeah, that's a great matchup. Mississippi State traveling to LSU. It's going to be the night game, 7 o'clock on ESPN.
And I'll bet you LSU does not shut Mississippi State out like they have their previous two opponents.
I don't know if I want to bet that because I think, Mississippi State is the best team they've had in recent memory, and they can really. It'd be a huge statement win for Dan Mullen if he can pull that off.
And for my Mississippi State Bulldog fans out there, I think I could pull for you to win this game. I wouldn't mind seeing you guys have some success in the West. Although LSU has Johnny Chavis as the defensive coordinator, and Johnny Chavis played his football at Tennessee, which makes me a Johnny Chavis fan, and he coached all those years under Coach Fulmer as well as a defense coordinator at Tennessee. So great football coach.
I see the connection there. So looks like Chet's got a LSU jersey somewhere in the
I said I was probably going to be pulling for Mississippi State if you was listening to me. I don't think you listen. You don't ever listen to me.
I've been known to get a little distracted.
To say the least. But anyway, good football game. Who are you picking?
I'll have to go with LSU.
I'm going with the Bulldogs.
Okay, well, Alabama, Florida.
I'm going with the Tide.
I'm going with the Tide. I'm rolling with the Tide.
I'm not rolling with them. I have to pick them because I think they're going to win.
Yeah.
Not that I want them to. Well, actually, I don't really care for Florida either. So anyway.
Well, that's the prediction. Auburn at Kansas State.
Oh man, I think, like I said, I think I might have said this before in the show, but I'm probably going to go with Auburn winning that game at Kansas State. Snyder's a good coach. I mean, Kansas State stunk when he wasn't there. They were good when he was there, stunk when he wasn't, and he went back, and they're good again, right? So,
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Auburn by 13.
That's a tough one to pick, but I think Auburn, they could blow them out. That could be. I wasn't ready for a score prediction, but I'm going with Auburn. Probably, I'm going to say 17 points.
Wow.
Yeah, big
That's
win
even
on
more
the
than
road.
I thought. But you just never know. But anyway, so that's the big games this weekend, right? So, Bill, we've had a great show tonight with Joey Kent. Again, appreciate you locating Joey and getting this getting that set up for us to do, and it was a lot of fun. And look forward to having him. And I think you've maybe can hopefully get Chris Anderson or some of the other ex-football players on as well. So we look forward to doing some more interviews.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be fun to try to reach out and get in touch with some of these guys, and guys, I know Chet and Bill aren't as famous as some of these guys, but
Not yet. We're soon to be because we're so fanatical.
But yeah, hopefully we can get some more interviews. We enjoy doing it. I know that. So be sure and tell your friends. Dixie Football Fanatics. We're easy to find on iTunes. We're on Facebook page. We got all kind of
Twitter
ways
as well.
Twitter.
Twitter
Easy for you to
FB
say.
Fanatics.
But yeah,
Twitter.
we're having fun with the Twitter, doing some retweets and putting some stuff out there. But yeah, just man, it's a blast. Just love this time of year. The weather's getting a little nicer, and man, SEC football, you can't beat it.
All right, Bill. Well, until the next show, thanks everybody for listening.
Thanks again, and enjoy your football, and we'll talk to you next week on Dixie Football Fanatics.